All right, this is the boldly titled Ultimate Blue Star build. So just think in your head for just a sec which mods you think should be on the best, the ultimate even Blue Star build. I'm gonna give you just a sec. All right, that's long enough. So you might have thought teleport. You might have thought barrier. Those are some good choices, and that's what I used to use. But let me go through and explain why I think this is the ultimate build. You'll notice maybe first you might have turned off the video already. I have time warp on here, and you're probably furious. There's so many reasons why time warp seems like it would be bad. For one thing, it's better to stop yourself generally in Blue Star because at the end you want to not run into the wall, right? You want to be the last person to go. But not always. Sometimes you get behind, somebody hits you with an EMP, or you start getting hurt in a way that you weren't expecting, or the enemy's going to win because you're about to die, but the enemy's about to run into the wall and you're not. So you hit time warp and just force the enemy to run into the wall faster when his gun would have killed you, or the Blue Star would have killed you. So not only is it important to stop, but also going faster, sometimes even at the end of the game, can help. But that's not why time warp is so good. The reason time warp is so good is because of Omega Shield, or any of the shields that you turn on, so not passive. Omega Shield's best because it is the strongest shield. Going fast with Delta isn't really important. You're just going to run yourself into the ending wall if you even live long enough to see the ending wall. I do every once in a while. I do see people using Delta, and I just get confused. You could use Mirror, but Mirror is spreading damage to a whole bunch of different enemies, including Cerberus, and a lot of the Cerberus are going to usually get killed by the wall. Its passive is just not good because there's just not enough time to get passive to come back, and specifically with this build, passive isn't going to work because the whole point of why time warp is so strong, other than the minor things I mentioned before, is that time warp affects your cooldowns, and Blue Star is very specifically lasts 5 minutes, which I think is deliberately lined up with the fact that all the shields in the game except for passive come back in 5 minutes. So the idea is everyone gets one shield, and do with it what you will. I tried the trick you can do in White Star is you can start your shield before you enter the star, and then get your cooldown, or get the shield to run out in a time that benefits you, so that you can have your next cooldown ready. I tried to do that in Blue Star. It doesn't work. So if you were thinking like I'll just do that instead, it just doesn't work. So what you do is you as soon as you get into the match, you hit both your shield and time warp at the same, not at the same time, but one and the next. And so then you'll have your shield. You'll also have time warp up so that you can get into the position that you want quickly. Right around the last final phase of the game, with the level of time warp I have is 6. So my level 6 time warp, if I pop it right away, has my Omega Shield ready to go. Right at around the time that I'm looking to need another shield. If you're if your time warp is lower than that, I would encourage you to level it up, because not only is this great for Blue Star, but it's also, I would argue time warp is the best mod in the game in terms of overall value, because it's extremely useful in Red Star and it's extremely useful in White Star. But in terms of Blue Star, I have it at 6. I should probably actually raise it even higher, but I have it currently at 6. And if yours is higher than that, if yours is lower than that, if it's at 5 or 4, maybe give it a shot and see where your shield ends up, if you pop it right away. But if it's higher than that, it doesn't like mean some mods you can over level and essentially ruin them. But if you've leveled up your time warp, it's fine. Just wait a second before you pop your time warp, and then it will, even though it's faster, it's speeding you up more and causing your shield to come back sooner when you might not have been ready for it yet, because you didn't get enough value out of your first shield. If you just wait a minute, not a minute, but a good 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever works for you, and then it will be ready when you're ready for it. So you want it to be high enough, but you don't need to worry about having it too high of a level. Omega Shield, I only have at level 5, but because you're getting 2 shields, each level you're going to add to Omega Shield, you're getting double the value in terms of your Blue Star, because you're going to get your shield twice. And yeah, you won't use that first shield 100% usually, but in theory, you're getting your Omega Shield 2 times, so you're getting twice the amount of benefit of leveling it up. Now, EMP, everybody knows EMP, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It's good because it's the best Blue Star mod standalone. It doesn't need synergy with anything. It's just important. Like when you get into the center of the Blue Star, you need to hit EMP. And if you haven't seen that yet, you probably haven't played a lot of Blue Star yet. It is basically something everyone tries to do. And then finally, Destiny is very interesting, because I didn't know this. I learned of a trick that basically, if you use Destiny, normally in a Blue Star, you'll get sent to a random asteroid. And a lot of times those random asteroids will be where the wall is about to be, and you can get yourself killed because you also have a disabled period afterwards. So in a very, very bad situation where you're guaranteed to die and you must get out of the situation you're in, you can use it for that reason. If you're dead anyway, you can try to get yourself into an asteroid where no one is, but more often than not, you're going to just kill yourself if you use Destiny early. But in the final phase of the game, the star collapses so much that there are no asteroids to go to. And in this phase of the game, if you use Destiny, there is no asteroids, so you just stay exactly where you are. Sort of like EMP, except you don't have to worry about being too close to the enemy and giving them value as well. It only affects you, so only you stop. It also has the added benefit of doing a whole bunch of damage, and that damage can make the difference sometimes if you're behind on health. I have a tendency, you'll notice this, I'm going to show some replays here in a second. You'll notice I use my Destiny either too early or too late when people are like right in the sweet spot. But really what you should do is use it right away, because it'll kill someone outright and you don't have to worry about shooting them anymore or getting shot by them anymore. But also you can wait till they're right at the end of Destiny, because then you got all your gun damage, and then on top of that you got your Destiny damage right as they're about to leave your gun range anyway, or each other's gun ranges anyway. so that you're not going to take one-sided damage from that. And you'll see, I'm going to show some replays where I use Destiny at the end, and you'll see that I take a little bit of damage unnecessarily. So that's something I even need to work on. In terms of why I think this is the ultimate build, is not just in theory. I am not an expert at playing in my strategies or my execution, really. I don't know all the little tricks, but I mean, I'm not bad, and my record right now is well, not my record, but generally speaking, since I've switched to this build, I've never, I don't think ever have lost more than 2 in a row. And I think I only lost 2 in a row once. So, except for that once where I lost 2 in a row, I'm either winning or winning on my next try. And usually I'm just winning. It's, you're going to see in the video, having twice as much shield as everyone else, that by itself, just your shield and time warp, will win you games all the time, even with bad luck. So I'm gonna go to the replays. So I kind of shot these out of sequence, so I'm gonna have to just edit it together. But I hope you get a sense for what I'm talking about, and I hope you try it, because this is an excellent build. I just wanted to make it clear that while I did come up with this build for myself on my own, I did later find that other people were running this same composition, and I just wanted to make it clear I didn't invent it. I'm going to put a link to another video. A corp mate of mine featured a player named Caprica, who was running this as well. I'm going to link that in the description below if you want to. He's also running it in a battleship 1 level higher than mine. So that might be interesting to check out if you have a higher level battleship than me. But yeah, enjoy the replays. All right, so this one's kind of like a worst case scenario. This one starts going real bad, but you can see in this one how sort of some of the things with this build come together and can handle these problems that might otherwise just kill other people who are playing well but just don't have the build. So I'm from right out the bat, I'm noticing all these interceptors are going to be a problem for me. And this is a weakness of the build, is that I don't have teleport. So I can't do the old interceptor fake out where you send them across the map and then you teleport back. But I've also noticed a lot of people end up trying to do that and getting themselves killed because they take a bad angle at it, or they teleport into a bad spot, or they commit to it for too long and they end up getting hit a lot in the process. There's a lot of ways it can go wrong. It also sort of it's commonly used by people who are too aggressive in blue stars, because blue stars are all about being conservative and staying alive. It's a very aggressive, trying to kill people type of move, and that type of mindset will often get you killed. So I like to use the wall. I got the wall kill there on that interceptor. I would have liked to have gotten both of them, but one's not bad. I can kill one, and because my shield's going to come back, I'm not worried really at all about the damage I'm going to take from one interceptor. As long as I'm out of the danger zone in terms of getting killed, I can take some damage. That's 100% fine. But I notice all these dots coming at me, and this is bad news. So I have all these extra interceptors on top of the ones I already was worried about dealing with, are now soaring across the map at me. So the way I have to deal with this, since I don't have teleport again, trying to use teleport to deal with it in the first place would be risky because you're having to deal with the ones that are already stationary, plus figuring out how to time the ones that are moving, which is a lot going on, and again, is probably something that's going to end up just getting you killed anyway. So I just run. I just run away from them. Same way you would with like a scary player who's coming at you. You just move away. Eventually the wall's going to come in, and eventually the wall's just going to kill these interceptors, and you won't have to deal with them anymore. Or they'll get attached onto somebody else. As another good way to get rid of them. It's just if you run far enough away, some other poor guy will be the one stuck dealing with them. But here we see the wall's going to kill the rest of these. My shield's not in great shape, but I'm also like not dead, which is good enough. So this guy thinks he's good to fight me. And then there's another strength of the build is that people will think they have a big advantage over you because they see they currently have more health than you and shield. But he probably realizes, oh, this guy's got 10 seconds left on his shield. I need to get away. So he runs, and I would rather fight him than that Colossus, so I actually do chase him. He EMPs me, which I understood was a possibility, but it's not a place I want to be. So I actually use a late Time Warp here. Time Warp you usually don't want to use late. You want to use it at the beginning to get your shield cooked, but most of the time you want things to happen slowly towards the end. But in this case, I didn't. I wanted to get away from the EMP that was getting me very badly hurt. So I Time Warped to speed it up. I got back into the fight with the guy because I ended the EMP quicker, and then he sort of panic runs to get away, and he's in such a bad shape. There's really nothing he could have done, and really the most important thing there was I got a fresh 12,000 hit points, which is incredibly strong. Like, to the point where if you can do one thing and that one thing you did is just like makes it impossible for the other person to have done anything to stop you, that's something you want to be doing every game. So one thing the guy could have done was, if he noticed earlier that my shield was low on time, but also if he was watching, he would have seen that I was actually taking a good chunk of damage, and if he maybe was more aggressive a little bit earlier, he could have killed me before my shield was coming back. And again, I'm telling people how to beat this build also because I think this is going to become more and more popular to see this. So I want to, at the same time, encourage people to use it, but at the same time, you should know where the weaknesses are so you can be aware of them for when you use it, if you do, and also to know how to beat other people who are using it. So if he had attacked me, he could have killed me. He could have killed me, and before I even got the shield recharged, or done a lot of damage, so that maybe if my shield goes down a second time, I'm out of hull. He also, I'm not entirely sure, but if with my Time Warp affecting his shield, there's a chance he might have gotten his shield back again. It also worked out in my favor quite a bit that the aggressive nature of this guy who sends the interceptors at me works at this point in the game. When they're sending these over to us, these two guys are in the strongest position and have a very strong chance to just win, 50-50 chance between the two of them. But because they're so aggressive, and maybe they think like we're guaranteed to be the last two people, so let's fight it out now because I think I can win now and then be the winner decisively. But whatever their mindset, it ends up getting them both killed. There's no EMP. It looks like... Let's see what actually kills them. So, yeah, this is a real bad move. Don't go into the huge fight. That's a terrible decision right there. And this guy chases. It is very, very poor decision making. And the Blue Star is a challenged to not get into fights, to not take damage, unless you're taking a massive advantage over the person you're defeating. And that person should also have a relatively decent chance at winning themselves. You don't even want to take a massively advantaged fight if it's a situation where that person wasn't going to win anyway. Even a massively advantaged fight is something you shouldn't do. So they end up killing themselves foolishly and aggressively. And then I only had to worry about the lone battle star and then this guy who was with me. I didn't even have to use all my tools. Only the shield with the time warp is what carries me through that one. All right, I'm going to show this one. This is actually, spoiler alert, I lose this, but I think for one, I just want to make it clear that no combination of equipment is ever going to be strong enough to outweigh just really bad luck in terms of what you're up against. I promised you a map with some bombers. I would have liked to have won one with bombers to show that it can, but we'll still get to see all the tools and all the tools working the way they should be. But again, not every match is going to be winnable, which is kind of what makes Blue Star fun. Is trying to sometimes outplay the hand you're dealt. I'm staying here on the outside edge, not just because some people love to stay on the outside edge no matter what the situation. I don't really follow that, but in this situation, I'm doing it because I'm going to go north, and I don't want to go north until I have to, because then I'm going to start getting bombed, and I'm going to try to lure this Cerberus to the outside so it gets killed by the wall. And so here we go. I'm going to go to this asteroid, the Serpal Chase, and then here come the rockets. So I'm getting hit by two different bombers at the same time without anyone else taking any of the heat from any of these rockets. This guy up here to the top left eventually does start to get hit by some of them, though. But this is like a nightmare situation, right? Where you're trying to deal with a Cerb Colossus at the same time you're trying to deal with two bombers. Like, this is like some of the worst situation that you're gonna have to deal with, I think, personally. So I get him to die on the wall. I'm still getting hit by a lot of these rockets. Even though I'm killing them, they do damage when you kill them. Trying to, obviously this is all live happening and I'm trying to deal with this as it comes, but my idea is to sort of I don't want to scare the bombers away from the wall, but I can't get killed by the wall myself. So I move away right away so that this one doesn't get scared. I maybe should have gone north instead of right. That might have been a better move. There's a little less pressure north. And I could, if anyone fights me, it's going to be the guy who's in first place. And you kind of want to knock the guy who's in first place down a peg a little if you can, if you're going to have to fight somebody. But I go right, which doesn't end up all that bad for me. So right now the time warp has gotten my Omega down to 15 seconds, which is great. I decided to go left here because the guy on the left looks like he's winning again. And if I'm going to have to beat him at some point, why not now? Also, it's kind of the easy choice. If I went right, I would have had to deal with that Colossus, and you just don't want to do that. So I have my brand new Omega shield. I'm looking strong, right? Looking very strong at this point. But you'll see here, this guy teleports a little bit oddly. I guess he wants to go cross map. Yeah, I'm not really sure. That was a very aggressive move on his part. He could have just stayed where he teleported to the whole time, but he actually came in range to fire that rocket so that we wouldn't have time to move out of the way. Normally, I don't like rocket. That move he did was very situational. A lot of times you won't get an opportunity to fire a rocket like that, and you basically have a mod for nothing. But he manages to land it on both of us. And when there's only 3 people left and you hit 2 people with a rocket, that's a pretty good use of it. So let's show the thing again from the winner's perspective that's happy. Show you he gets a little bit of an easier run off the beginning. So he has to deal with 2 Colossus, which is not great, but it's also not the end of the world. There's a big gap here in the middle where he's going to run through. And not to discredit him or to say, like, oh, he just got lucky and that's the only reason he won. He plays his spawn well, but I would much rather had his spawn than my spawn. So he splits these Serbs, and then I think he's just going to dance around them. He still does have this bomber to deal with, but it's just the one. He moves right away to this down low position. I might have waited a second longer because this lone battleship actually only narrowly beats him into range. Otherwise, this Colossus would have been hitting him instead of the lone. And he probably would have actually lost if that had happened. Just that little bit of extra damage at the end of the match would have been the difference. And then the Colossus also continues to chase him, and he plays it a tad aggressively. Actually, it's just a lone battleship. You can almost guess that they're going to kill themselves at some point. Could have just avoided it. I guess he didn't want to get hit by those rockets or have to deal with the Colossus after it moved, but he decides to go and chase here, which isn't a terrible idea, but I'm not sure it was the best. You'll see we're actually about even right now in health, but me down low, I'm still trying to deal with all these rockets and not getting the benefit of having a lone battleship just tank all the Serb Colossi for me. But finally the lone goes down, but it's basically right in time. He might have jumped that a little bit too early. If the Colossus left right away, it might have actually gotten out of the wall. No, it wouldn't have, because he goes into range of its firing. But still kind of close here. If that Colossus survives, he's going to take a lot more damage. And then, but again, right now, he's way more hurt than the rest of us. I also have my Destiny. I forgot to mention, I actually land the Destiny on both of them. And if we watch this ending again, I'll show you. I think I might have still been able to win if I nailed it perfectly. I'll try to describe what I mean as it happens. For one, I don't think there's any way to miss that rocket. But if I Destiny immediately, as soon as he's in range, that would have killed the first guy faster so that my gun would start hitting Happy sooner, which, I mean, he does beat me by a decent chunk of health, so that may still not have been enough to get the win. But it's very close in the end, and some things really went his way and some things really didn't go my way. Okay, this one is not all that exciting to watch, but it's probably the most typical. This is what most of my matches look like. It's also the quintessential argument for why I think this build is so good. So, a very easy approach. You might not see approaches this easy often, but I just set up here, wait for the wall. Some people like to stay at the wall all the way until like the wall actually forces you to move up, but I don't see any reason to do that. I think it's good to assertively take the position that you want if you're closest to it, because then other players will see that you're going there and have less interest in trying to move around in that same area, because they, like you, don't want to get in engagements that far out. So if you're assertive and you take the ground that you want early on, no one's going to mess with you really. And if they do, you're already planted in the spot that you like, and you have a lot of open space if somebody comes at you to move around. Whereas if you're up against the wall all the time, you're constantly going to have to worry about how to not get killed by the wall and deal with this person harassing you at the same time. But so basically, I'm just sitting here, I'm just waiting for the wall to come in. Shields ticking down. So in my other videos, you get to see a lot of how much damage that shield can replace. In this one, it's probably going to be a little bit less so, because I'm just not having to fight. Just watching it. The other guys around me, though, they also aren't needing to get this engaged. These guys on the bottom left, they're in kind of a rough spot. They could have come left and up and come at the bottom left half of where I am, but then they would have had to have dealt with me, which they don't want to, because you don't want to fight. But instead they do something kind of even worse, which at least this middle left guy does. He decides he's going to deal with me and the interceptors, 3 of them, and me as well. And I take a look at him in the process of this, and I think he's going to teleport away and do the trick teleport fake out, but he doesn't have teleport. So I just decide I'm going to stay away from him. And then he doesn't really know what to do. I think he's just kind of waiting to die. This guy, I think he understands he's going to lose the fight with this other guy. I don't know why you bring duels into Blue Star. It's 99% of the time that's going to be the wrong weapon. I think about going to this high asteroid because it's if you don't know this, it's like the secret asteroid, because the bottom piece hangs off. This other guy actually knows a bonus trick that I'm going to show off maybe with a quick second viewing. But I think about going there, but I don't really feel like I need to. I'm just going to cut across the map, take advantage of the fact that I have all my cooldowns. And so I use my EMP to stop. I make sure not to hit anything, and I didn't get in the gun range of that. But I kind of try to position myself so that Destiny also will cover him eventually. So that my EMP ends. Now I can Destiny, and I do, to finish the one guy off. And now the other guy's hurt pretty bad. And my thought is, well, now I've won. I just win. But he actually did like a trick. I'm going to show you how he did it in a second. Where if he had done it faster, he could have gotten in. And I'm not sure right now if the route was inside the inside circle or not, but we'll see here in this second viewing of it. So what he does is let's keep moving. He actually executes it really well too. So he moves to that spot. He knows he needs to leave a little bit early because he's pulling this trick off. Watch as soon as the wall comes in, right before, watch the new line come up. There it is. So he does it. He waits to not show his cards so that nobody knows what he's doing until the very last second. Nails it right before the wall comes up. And I didn't even notice it at the time. I didn't know that this was a trick that was possible. But, I mean, I should have noticed it here at the end because there's an extra line, but I was more concerned about timing my stuff right. So, because he sets that waypoint, even though he does it way before, or not way before, even though he does it and he hasn't reached the second leg of that trip, because he set the waypoint, it's in, even though his destination doesn't exist anymore by the time he gets there. So he's able to bounce off that northern asteroid, which, like I mentioned before, secretly has the hang down little bonus. The spot you sit is actually within typically where the final circle is. He goes there and then bounces off and gets like a second run through the whole center. And executed better, or a little bit sooner, he would have actually done it. But here's the thing, that this build is so strong, I actually could have stopped him if I knew about this trick, but I didn't know about the trick, so I didn't know what I was up against here. But I'll show you what I could have done. So since he actually needs to get across the field faster, because he needs to get to the top, then bounce off, then come back before the wall kills him. And if I had known that that's what he was going for, all I have to do is just wait to EMP and purposefully hit him, which usually you don't want to do because you want to stop yourself and not the enemy. But if I had stopped him as well, the wall collapses and then he runs into the black easily. Whereas here it actually was a little bit close. Yeah, and he does, like I was saying, he has a good line here through the right. Let's see, again. So, yeah, so that guy knew more about what was going on than me, and he positioned himself in a perfect scenario where he was where he wanted to be, and he pulled off the trick that I didn't even know about perfectly. Someone who he was literally outplaying me if he could have just done it a little faster, and I still had everything I needed to do in order to stop him in my toolkit. So yeah. I did these kind of videos a little bit out of sequence, so I'm gonna this one I probably should put first because it's the best example of the build, but I didn't do like a send off or anything on my other ones, so I'm gonna hope that everybody has luck with this, gives it a shot. If you see problems with the build that you think could be improved on, or you have other mods you think are must-haves, and I'm curious what people think should be replaced. And any other comments, please let me know in the video. Have a good one.